Tell us about yourself, your name and job title.
Okay. Paul Stewart. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, which means in terms of education, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in social work, both from the University of Washington. I work as an outpatient psychotherapist of a private practice in Monterey that I opened in 1988. And I have one subcontract job where I work for the Department of, well, actually I work for an agency that contracts with the Department of Corrections, treating parolees. So that's one kind of subcontract that I do that's like a day and a half a week, but otherwise I'm full-time in my private practice.
What or who inspired you to get into the field of psychology?
Think about it. I always kind of liked kids. I was a babysitter when I was young. When I was 13, 12 or 13, I started babysitting neighborhood kids and always, liked taking care of kids. And have always been pretty compassionate. But I think what actually hooked me was a class I took in high school, which was not called a psychology class, but it was definitely a psychology class. The guy was a really good teacher, and he taught about a lot of aspects of psychology, but he did it in a very good way. It was just fascinating to me, really trying to figure out what was going on with people. So that really probably got me most interested.
What was the application process like for doctorate school?
For social work school?
Yeah.
Well, it's been a while, so I think it was, they had sort of a personal essay, and then they asked you about your goals and stuff like that, what kind of work you wanted to do. Looked at your transcript.
How long did it take you to become a psychotherapist?
9 years. It took me 7 years to get my bachelor's degree because I was putting myself through school. And so I went to a couple community colleges, and then actually 2 different universities. And then by the time I got my bachelor's, I was like, wanted to get to work and needed to get to work. And so I got a master's. I thought about going to a PhD program. But at that point, I had so much time in education already that I really just wanted to get a degree that I could use to do what I wanted and get done. So 7 years for my BA, and then 2 years for the master's program at the University of Washington.
So do you have any current advice for undergrads for the process of selecting grad schools?
When you're interviewing somebody, practice your interview questions ahead of time. Actually, one piece of advice is, to some extent, it doesn't matter. For where you go to school, in some senses, it's not that big a deal, because to get a job, what you need is a piece of paper that has a credential on it, and whether you get it from a really, really good school or a really, really average school often does not make that much difference.
What are some things you like about your job?
And there's a lot to like about this job. It's kind of a never a dull moment. It's impossible to feel it's impossible not to feel vital doing a job like this, because you are helping people with some of the most basic aspects of their life and their ability to function well and be happy. You affect children's upbringing by treating their parents effectively. You help children deal with trauma and difficulty, divorce, by treating them effectively. So there's that.
And then, so what are some of the hardest things about this line of work?
If you think about psychology in general, it depends a lot on what you do. I deal in child abuse and high conflict divorce, so I have organized my professional life around a couple of the most difficult areas of treatment that there are in my field. And they're difficult because they're often emotionally challenging and complicated.
And then, so what are some of the hardest things about this line of work?
If you think about psychology in general, it depends a lot on what you do. I deal in child abuse and high conflict divorce, so I have organized my life, my professional life, around a couple of the most difficult areas of treatment that there are in my field. And they're difficult because they're often emotionally challenging and complicated. Sometimes I do sort of wish for a bit simpler job. And I mean, I could do counseling, I could be a therapist and work in a different area and have things be a bit simpler. So sometimes I do wish for that. Sometimes it gets to be a bit intense. Working with children, you are exposed to their suffering in ways you can't change. It's the good and the bad of the job. I'm able to affect children's lives sometimes in extremely powerful ways that I hear when I get calls sometimes from kid clients from 10 years ago or 20 years ago or now 30 years ago. Not very often 30 years ago. When they just talk about what it was like being able to see me for some period of time and the difference it made in their lives. That really is cool. But there are other circumstances in which I get involved in a case and there's great suffering and zero. I have no ability to have an impact on what's going to happen with that kid. And that's tough. I think part of it is a personal thing for me. I do not like the experience of being powerless. And that goes back to my mom being an alcoholic when I was a kid. They were pretty out of control sometimes, and I didn't like it. And as an adult, I don't like things being out of control. So if I see somebody suffering and I know I'm not going to be able to help them, that's difficult for me. That's a challenge. So that's probably the toughest thing when I realize that there's something that I could see, a problem that I recognize that I'm just not going to have the ability to do anything about.